Peter Vettese, welcome to the Ayala show.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Well, I feel humbled to be in your presence. It should be called
likewise,
the Vettese show.
And likewise, because I'm a great fan of your material and your work.
Thank you. Well, you've had 3 decades of unbelievable success. You arranged 2 of my favourite songs by Annie Lennox,
Yes.
Walking on Broken Glass and Why, and
Yes.
both of those inspired me to want to be a singer when I was younger.
That's very kind.
And you were in Jethro, Tull. You wrote The Proud, Heather Small,
Yes.
all sorts of an array of different types of success in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you feel you belong? Is it on the stage, or is it behind the piano? Is it in the studio?
I think the most important thing for me is the form of expression has been since I was 4, sitting at a piano. That's where everything seems to be. So the short, simple answer to that is that the zone is whilst playing the piano and being amongst the music.
And what would you pick out as some of the greatest highlights? Would it be playing in Jethro, Tull, or working with Annie Lennox, or?
Yep. Well, I mean, essentially both of those things. But really, the highlights have always been encountering a great soul. But I am proud of my efforts in relation to Annie, and I was really happy with my arrangement on Walking on Broken Glass because it also was inspired by another unique and brilliant talent, Village Ghetto Land by Stevie Wonder. And it's aspirational to want to try to be like Stevie Wonder.
I think for all of us.
Yes, but to have that amount of music available in the space of one album, Inner Visions in particular.
It's one of those albums, like that Annie Lennox album actually, that made me feel like sometimes, if that is already out there, what is my purpose? I may as well hang up my hat.
That's right, and understandably, one's attitude to it could be, I can't, and I never will, and I'm going to stop and try and do something else. Well, I've faced that predicament, mostly every week. So
Encouraging to know that you face that.
There are consolations. The consolations of living as a musician, I think, are, in my case, is to witness the really phenomenal musicians and want to aspire.
Well, I want to be like you when I grow up.
And I look forward to growing up.
So, talking of the present times,
Mm-hmm.
where do you see, because the music industry in the last 3 decades has changed just unrecognisably.
Yes.
How do you see where we're at now and where we're heading?
So much more is possible because of the equipment. When I started playing and being in studios, it was very analogue, the experience, sometimes unaccompanied by electricity. One of the changes that I saw coming, and I was sort of in the vanguard of this, which was to start using electronic music. And at the very beginning of sampling, 1 or 2 bars was as much as it could sample. And then I think the knock-on effect of that has been that compositionally things have become 1 or 2 bars long in terms of their actual composition and then repetition. There's nothing wrong with that, but it becomes the default setting of how you set off in trying to do something, and it seems limiting to me. As far as commercial music's gone, we find ourselves in this, I think it's called the Overton principle, where there's a sort of a bandwidth that's limited for what would constitute normalcy, what would constitute a pop song, let's say, and it seems quite narrow. But all the good things appear to come from out with that box, and it's supporting things outside the box that I think where the future for us lies.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, it was a great pleasure.
And thank you also for letting me sing on your beautiful song that you've written with Goran Kay.
Yes, well, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So we will be blowing through it for essentially the first time.
I know.
Yes.
I'm live on the Ayala show.
Yep, well, these are the risks we take.
It's wonderful. Thank you very much, Peter.
Much appreciated.